Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station World Travel Show with Nancy and Lisa, the crazy mother-daughter travel team and publishers of two digital interactive publications. We've got Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine. That's our variety quality of life publication. And we also have Parks and Travel Magazine, and that covers parks and travel, as well as our Love Your Parks tour, where we're traveling across the country, documenting parks and sharing the stories of the different communities and destinations. You can check it all out at bigblendmagazines.com. But you know, we love connecting with all the travel writers at the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. So we do a number of shows with them. And very excited today because we're going to be chatting with Travel-Writer-Sue-Krause. She just came back from Portugal and Spain on a cruise. She's like a floating cruise with jazz, live jazz music, food and wine. It's like a floating festival. And she did this with Earthbound-Expeditions. And check their website out.
Expeditions.
Expeditions. Oh, Expeditions. There it is. Expectations. I have an expectation of having a good time if I get on that expedition.
No, it was Charles Dickens' Great Expectations, and it was. So,
well, welcome, Sue. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great here on Whidbey Island, which is an island north of Seattle. It's about an hour away from the big city. And we're having lovely autumnal weather, which I like, kind of frosty in the morning and then sunny in the afternoon.
Right on. Today, Nancy and I are here in Yuma, Arizona, and so we're it's within the Yuma Crossing National Heritage Area. So we're at the lower Colorado River, like the lower end of the river, right before it goes into Mexico to go down to the Sea of Cortez. And it's, you know, the sunniest place on earth in the Guinness Book of Records. And yet in the mornings, Nancy, right, we're like all bundled up now. We're sensitive. Because
you're sensitive, right?
We're desert rats, you know. So it's always like this, like, what do you mean there's a chill that we have to have a long sleeve shirt or a sweater on, you know? So it's a little different, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Sue, this whole expedition that you went on, and I'm going to give them a shout out, Earthbound-Expeditions.com. Check that out, especially under voyages. This is like an exciting thing. I mean, number one, you went to Lisbon and you went to Portugal. I mean, you've been to Portugal before, and now this is a whole different thing. How many years passed between the first time and this time?
Probably maybe 3 or 4 years. We were on a Rick Steves tour of Spain. We did one of his My Way tours, which is kind of a new concept for them. You're not with the group the whole time. You're kind of on your own, but you have the transportation and the hotels. But at any rate, we thought, okay, we are this close to Lisbon when we were in Spain. Why don't we just hop over there for 4 days? So we flew to Lisbon and spent 4 wonderful days there. And I automatically said, this is my new favorite city in Europe.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
The food, the people, everything about it. It's a small country, and knew I wanted to go back at some point, and my husband felt the same way. So when this opportunity came up, and I saw on their website that they were doing my 3 favorite things, jazz, food, and wine, on a small ship with only like 120 passengers on the Douro River in Portugal, I said, yes, but I kept it a secret from my husband until we got on the plane.
Oh, wow. How did you do that?
I mean, well, it was tough because a couple of times, I'm kind of chatty, I almost spilled the beans. And but what happened, we got to the airport, and of course, and the reason I wanted to do this, it was our 45th wedding anniversary, which makes me sound like I'm not really 110 years old, but it makes it sound that way. But it was a surprise because he's very flexible. He likes to do just about anything, and I basically told him, you're going to know when we get to the airport because the boarding pass said Lisbon. And he kind of looked at me and it's like, oh, we've been there. I said, yeah, but I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do until we get on the plane. So we waited for our first glass of champagne on the plane, and then I had to tell him, and I gave him the whole packet, and it's hard for me to keep my mouth shut.
This is awesome, though. I mean, that's the way to do it, on the plane with champagne, and But at Lisbon, you remember, Nancy, when I'm like Anthony Bourdain. I really love his shows,
yeah.
and I love him,
best.
and he's just like he's just one of those people in life that he's changed everything. I think in the
I
world of
agree.
travel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Lisbon.
his books.
Yeah,
his books, everything he did was great.
He really did, and he was honest. He had integrity to the places he went to. In Lisbon, when he was in Lisbon, I fell in love with the music. Oh my gosh, the music in Lisbon! I want to go just for the music. To me,
right? Yeah.
The music of now, and the music of like what they've carried. Is it the fado music?
The fado, yeah.
Fado,
it's a little. I think it takes a while to get familiar with it and used to it, because it's like if you had never heard opera before, but it's kind of sad, and but it's a big way of life for them. So yeah, we did hear some fado music, of course, and but the food and the people, I just love the people. They're just kind of, I just felt really at home there, which you don't always feel in a different country.
Oh, well, yeah, that's it. And what about the language? I mean, do people speak English enough to get by?
Yes, they do, because they speak Portuguese there, and so how many people in the world speak Portuguese? People in Portugal and people in Brazil. So the English, we talked to locals, and we had some guides with us that, they start English when they're like in first grade. So I'm sure if you get way out in the hinterlands and maybe some really small communities or villages that maybe the elders don't speak English, but everyone in our age bracket, which on the tour was probably 40 to 70-year-olds on the tour, that's kind of who jazz lovers are, not a problem at all, zero problems.
Oh, now, what's with these custard tarts? You talk about this, and I want to give everyone a heads up here. Sue's article is up on blendradioandtv.com. She wrote an article about her experience. She went in September of this year, 2019, Portugal and Spain. You'll see it up there. And what's great is that you'll be able to, read all the places that she's been, see her amazing footage or photographs and everything of where she was. So it's up there now. It'll also be in the upcoming issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. But this is so, cool to get out there, and you're on a smaller vessel. Nancy, when, it's different than what we've been on cruise ship wise, right, Nancy? It's a little smaller.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good idea, because some of those ships, I mean, you feel like you're walking through New York or something.
Oh, yeah. They have 4,000 or 5,000 people. They're 10 decks high. And, my husband that would not be a gift to him to say, oh, we're going to hang out for our anniversary with 5,000 other people. So
yeah, exactly.
I really like the small ship. We did it two other times, and it's just kind of the way to go. There are lots of cruise companies out there that are going that route, especially on the rivers. You don't, or you can't be on a huge ship on a river. So, but yeah, those tarts we had them the first time we were in Portugal, and they're called pastéis de nata. And of course, my Portuguese accent is horrible and pronunciation. But what they are is a Portuguese custard tart. So if you like custard, they're these little tarts, and they're just, we had them. One of the things we did do is we arrived in Lisbon 2 or 3 days prior to the start of the tour, just to kind of jet lag, get settled in, do our own thing for a while. And I love taking walking food tours of a city. That's my new way to see a town. And so, of course, we had those tarts, and they were hot out of the oven. And they weren't from a place that we'd been to before. They were up by the castle on this beautiful hill, and our guide ran in and brought these warm, wonderful Portuguese custard tarts, and pretty fabulous.
Wow. And you went to Porto, and isn't that where port itself actually comes from, that import?
And exactly. And it's just a beautiful, I kind of almost liked it better than Lisbon. maybe half the size of Lisbon. It's up near the farm country because it's all the grapes and everything are grown up there, and it's just a little more laid back, and it's real kind of fishing village kind of feeling town, but it's also very kind of cool and hip and trendy, but it has great history. And so, yeah, I really like Porto. You need to be a mountain goat to get around there, and same with Lisbon. It's really, really hilly. We went on another, like a 6-hour food walking tour there, and we got lost getting to the start of the tour, and I think that day we put 10 miles on.
Oh, well,
you know, yeah, my husband kept track of it on his phone. I went, no wonder it's time for port.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We're like that too, right? It's like, pull over time, the sun's starting to come down and okay, it's time, especially you've been doing a lot of walking. With the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, and everyone, if you're a travel writer, photographer, or destination, I encourage you to go to their website, ifwtwa.org. Their conference, I know we're chatting now, we're recording this because when this airs, you're actually on your way to Santa Fe, New Mexico for where their annual conference is. And Nancy and I were there in July in Santa Fe.
Oh,
and
was it hot?
Actually, it was
Nice.
really nice.
Really nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah, really, really nice. And the downtown area is so beautiful, in the plaza and where you're going to be. And, when you're talking about food tours, I think one of the biggest highlights for us, and unfortunately we had it that was the last thing we did. We woke up, the day we were leaving, we had a food tour, and then off we drive with full bellies, but it's a good thing it's a walking city. But, that food tour, Nancy, I think that's got to be one of the...
really good.
Yeah, if you get a chance on this, conference time, I would really recommend you do it. New Mexico food tours, because, and if you can do it as soon as possible, like when you're in a destination, what we've found from these food tours is that you actually learn more of the history through the food on these walking tours. And
they're great. Yeah, our guide in Porto was, we were the only people, often if there aren't a minimum number of people on a tour, they cancel it. But so we met this woman in the square finally after we got lost, but we met her on time. And I said, so we have a group coming? She goes, no, it's just you, but that's fine, blah, blah, blah. So we had like a personal guide for 6 hours. We stopped at 11 or 12 places, some hole in the walls, a place where actually Anthony Bourdain had visited and was featured on his show. But the nice thing was, she was born and raised there, she lives there. And so her world is food. And so I didn't feel like I was with some, person they hired to just do a tour and kind of give the whole dog and pony show about it. It was really, really good. So yeah, and what I like about the walking food tours is you don't feel so guilty after stopping at 11 or 12 places of eating and drinking.
And drinking.
If I was,
yeah.
Oh yeah. Of course we had port. I mean, we had to finish up with port, but yeah, I've probably been on 9 or 10 city food walking tours. Wherever I am, it's the first thing I do is I look up the reviews, see what the best ones are, and I just go for it. And then you have the lay of the land, and you can go back to a restaurant that you really liked, where maybe you just had a small little taste of something. And it's a great way to see the city.
It is cool. I mean, when we were in Santa Fe, we tasted local Santa Fe or New Mexico wines and beers and margaritas. Obviously, they have a margarita trail where you're going. It's really nice.
Okay. That sounds great.
I know. Everybody must have that. But yeah, we were walking, and then it was just Nancy and I, and then a mother-daughter team that was there too. Another mother-daughter, but the mom couldn't do the amount of walking that was required. So they
got in a
pedicab. Pedicab.
Oh, great idea.
So that was really neat. So yeah, I'm excited for you to go to Santa Fe, because reading your article and now chatting with you, I know you're gonna absolutely.
Yeah, and I haven't been there for, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 years. It's been a long time. I'm due. And I did kind of a neat travel thing. It's expensive to go. There are no direct flights from Seattle to Santa Fe. You have to transfer, blah, 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 and it ends up taking like 8 hours, which seems kind of silly. So I did my little homework and went, so what if I what if I fly to that other main city and like do an Uber? Well, it turned out it was like half the price, even with adding the Uber, and the two cities are only an hour apart, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So I love it when you kind of think you've the only person that discovered it, but yeah, Santa Fe is a very small airport, so I beat the system, and I feel really good about that.
You go, girl. You go, girl.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I'm going to be watching because, on social media and everything, and I love following the IFTWA writers on hashtag IFTWA, IFWTWA, on Twitter. I love following that because everybody's all over the place, right? But, this cruise that you were on, you went to Portugal, and then you also went to Spain, and, Santa Fe's roots in Spanish culture run deep.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting after just being in Spain, going to Santa Fe.
Well, and it was so weird to be in Spain. We were in the city of Salamanca. And of course, the EU countries, you don't need your passport even to go from country to country. So it wasn't an issue, but all of a sudden, we're on the river, but then we transferred to a bus for about an hour and a half and went into Salamanca. And wonderful city, great cathedrals, really good, different type of food. No Portuguese was spoken there. But my Spanish is still pretty minimal. But anyway, yeah, it was very, very fun to go all the way to Spain. That was kind of a bonus.
Oh, man. Now, the food, does the food change over? Because Spain and Portugal aren't that. You're floating down a river. Like, are you floating at night with the music? That's because to me, we've done blues cruises, but like on little boats, like in like Long Beach and stuff. But
no, they don't travel at night. They aren't equipped for that. These small ships, and you wouldn't see any of the countryside. We're on the Douro River, and it is total vineyards on the hillsides all the way along. It's green, and parts it's kind of brown. There's small little village. It is it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, so it's really, really beautiful. But as far as the food on the ship was wonderful. That was really good. Hot and cold running wine, port, sparkling wine, whatever you wanted was included. So we had no issues with that. That was, the food was pretty fabulous. And we had 80-degree weather almost the entire cruise. It was 10 days. Yeah, we had perfect weather the whole time. I think the morning we left to go to the airport in Porto, it was kind of misty and raining, and I kind of went, that's a sign. It's time to go home.
Yeah. So what was the music like? Because it was one band, like a house band almost on the.
They were great. It was there was a bass player who was very very well known in European circles. It was all European players, and my husband and I are big jazz people, but we don't hear a lot of the European jazzers. But his name was Frank Anselm of Paris. He's a composer. He has a bunch of recordings. He's a vocalist. He's a singer. So he was the leader of the band. And then a wonderful bass player, Victor Nyberg from Stockholm, who I kind of hung out with one afternoon while he rehearsed. A very young guy, another young guy from Paris. There was a Cuban sax player, a wonderful vocalist by the name of Hetty Kate, Hetty of Australia, and she and I really hit it off, and so we're following each other on Instagram and Facebook and all that. And then a fine singer from San Diego and Paris, her home, Sasha Barost. So we had and so every night you would have dinner, and then, oh darn, we have to go up to the lounge, and it's this beautiful lounge, and hear this really, really fine, it wasn't just a house band. These musicians were really tops. It was such a bonus.
It's like a residency. A residency is really the word for that kind of thing.
It was great.
That's amazing. And you're on the water. To me, is it like can you be outside and hear the music and have a cocktail or wine?
Not really, because they're inside, just because, they have to have everything all set up. But, the upper deck is lovely, and you can go up there, but the room was always packed. It's like, I can't imagine anyone going on that, and because they knew it was a jazz cruise. And if they go, well, I don't really care for jazz, and I would think, well, maybe you're on the wrong cruise then. But they're going to be doing another one in from Paris to Normandy in 2020. It's called April in Paris, so another floating jazz fest. And yeah, this was their first one, so we were kind of the guinea pigs. There were a few things that were a little, wasn't sure about that particular kind of field trip we went on. And so it was really good because they really wanted our feedback, like on how did this work. But the ship is beautiful. It had just been, redone and restored and all that. And just to have such a small number of passengers on board was really, really wonderful.
I like that. I think that's Nancy, when we did that one cruise, it's almost like a floating city, and there's so many people, and it just doesn't feel relaxing to me. So when these smaller, cruises, to me, they really, we've talked with a lot of writers and doing these kind of cruises, and it seems like you make new friends, and you get to hang out with the musicians, which is really cool.
Right.
That's special. I think when you get to learn, you learn more from a musician. Why are you playing that note? And we're both musicians here, and just to me, wine and jazz, and then you're floating on a river.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, I'll take that any day.
No, it was very non-commercial, because on those big cruise ships, they hire these groups to play on the ships and blah blah blah, and that's fine, and it's entertainment. But this was like you were in your own personal jazz club. It was really quite wonderful.
So what led you to the world of writing? Because I was like, you've been doing, freelance travel writing and photography since 1988?
Yeah, now that's starting to sound like a long time. That's like a long time. Well, I started out as I don't want to say a real journalist and make travel writing sound like it's not real journalism, but I worked for a newspaper for 15 years. And so that was back in the 80s, and I would read these travel stories, and back in the day, the travel stories kind of sounded like recycled press releases, like no one wrote in the first person, which I do, and I started writing in the first person. My editor at the paper, when I started writing for other publications, kind of went, I'm not sure about this. Well, now that's what people want. They want your they want you to be a storyteller. So I just branched out. I contacted newspapers and magazines, and I still have a couple of blogs. I have to say, I don't write for newspapers anymore because it's kind of a dying thing.
Yeah.
And don't write really for that many magazines. I'm mainly online with a couple of my blogs, and that's just kind of where the world has gone. But I'm very fortunate that I was a part of the glory days of journalism, is what I call it, because it was different back then.
Yeah, Nancy had a magazine in South Africa for a number of years, and Nancy, that the whole travel writing, wasn't that one of the first things, like you're not allowed to, I went to eat breakfast or anything, like you're not allowed to be personal about it at all.
Yeah, that was a style way back then, and I think it had that, it kind of, how can I say this? I think agencies like the Automobile Club, how they, how they were writing what they were writing, kind of pushed the envelope a little bit, and they were like more informational, and then they tried to be cutesy, and then they tried to be personal.
Right.
Yeah, and so people were like, well, I like this, well, I don't like that. But as that was happening, the generations were changing, and travel changed a lot. And now everything's changed so much with the internet that it's really kind of, you can do whatever you want. Somebody's going to like it, and somebody isn't.
Right. Yeah. I think the only downside for me is, everybody thinks they're a travel writer because they have a blog on their neighbor and the postman, and they've got 4 readers, and so I don't like being lumped in with that. I kind of want to go, hey, I've been doing this for years, blah blah blah. So I find that a little irritating, but I need to get over it. That's just how it is now.
It's really true. I made a living as an artist, and everybody thought that you have a piece of paper.
Oh, I know, everyone's an artist.
Yeah.
Everybody has a phone now. They're a photographer, So
that's right. I think we're all going through this at the same time, and so in a way, it's kind of good because it's equal. But boy, you really have to wade through the whole thing and kind of carve out where you want to be in this whole new world of media. Because it's a lot different than it was. And I'm not one of those that just like, oh, back in the old days, blah, blah, blah.
I know, back in the good old
you got to
days.
jump in. You got to jump in. It's like you have to jump in and then, and maintain your integrity to who you are as a personality, a person,
It's about style, personal style, actually.
Right.
Because anybody can get the information right. Not everybody does get the information right, I might add. But if you're diligent and you're doing your job, you can get the information correct. All right?
Sure.
But yeah, now it's about how you portray it and personalize it, and and you've got to have your own stamp on it.
I got style,
I think so.
baby.
Yeah,
I got style.
You definitely have, your writing has to have a voice. Otherwise, people are there's just too much stuff out there. They're going to blow through it and go, hey, I don't need this. I don't need that. I just went and saw Rachel Maddow the other night in Seattle at Benaroya Hall, and she has a voice. And she's on a tour promoting her new book called Blowout. And what a fabulous speaker. I mean, she just, she had the standing room only. That whole hall was, it was pretty great. But so, yeah, I think it's all good. It's just, you kind of have to keep up with the times. I have a travel writer friend who didn't want to do any social networking, any of that. She was just stuck in the past, and she's not doing it anymore. She's just kind of said, that's it, I'm done. And that's okay too. That's okay too.
I think you have to be who you are. And the reality is people, you connect. I think it becomes a more of a connection, and everybody's just got to find their happy place. But I'm reading,
exactly.
You've been to all 7 continents, 47 countries.
That's cool. I know. Wow. Right? Yeah. The 7 continents thing. And it wasn't, there are people that's their goal in life. When we were in Antarctica, there was a group of people that they were all in this little group that this was their 7th continent. And there was someone reporting on it from a New York TV station about these people. There's a name for the group, and I don't know what it is. And I said, no, we're not a part of it. I said, my husband and son and I just happened to be down here at the same time, but we ended up being on our show because it was our 7th continent. But, not a lifelong goal. It just kind of happened. So, yeah, we're pretty fortunate. And I'm kind of glad that we've done so much of it now. I think it's getting harder to travel, depending, there are countries you don't want to go to. I'm not going to go to Turkey right now.
No,
I've never been. It's, and I have friends who go, oh, it's not a problem. But, I'm pretty good. There's some little red flags out there, and I pay attention to them. So I'm kind of glad that we got to do the bulk of our travel before the world got a little more topsy-turvy than it was.
You say it very politely. I was about to say something completely different.
I know.
I try to watch it, and you just came back from Rachel Maddow. I mean, like, how do you not come out of there and go like,
Yeah.
But, and you're like, here you. I like that about you, that you're like, hey, this is, I did this. I went to see her, and now, we're going to get people that are going to like, oh, well, she's she went there.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But we
Right.
have to be who we are. Otherwise,
Oh, yeah.
come on, everybody, get over yourselves.
But isn't that really the whole basis of travel, is to see something that isn't what you are?
Yeah.
Right, right.
That's the whole
Yeah.
thing. So you're supposed to travel to learn something new, have new experiences, and see something different from how you are used to being and living. And then, so don't complain about it when it's different.
Yeah.
Right. I do have, I think the one kind of issue I had coming out of, real journalism, a newspaper world, was if ever I was hosted on a trip, that really bothered me. And my rule now is, would I go to this place on my own dime? Say it's a hosted trip. And if my answer is no, like I'm not interested in it, then I don't go. And I think that's as ethical as you can be.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But so I had issues with that at first. And, I know some travel writers, they'll go anywhere. I mean, it's just like, oh yeah, I got a trip here, I got a trip there, and I'm a lot more selective now. And I think that's just a little more genuine. And I think it comes across better in your writing too, that, you actually paid for your trip. That makes a big difference in how you view things. I've noticed that.
That's interesting. Yeah. How you do things. And I think it's all partial. Like, for us, it's different. We travel full time, and it's, there's we don't have caviar. Well, we're allergic to fish, but we don't have caviar every day. Half the time we're out on a picnic with sandwiches like that we've made in the hotel room, because that's the way it is, and we're hiking somewhere, so but we do take wine with us, okay, with our Porto Vino. So you got to check out Porto Vino. You got to check that out.
Okay.
Dig it. But I wanted to ask you, your blogs, you've got Eat, Play, Sleep, SueKrause.com. You also have your main site, which is SueKrause.com, but ClosetCanuck.com. So now, because you're right there by Canada, so you're like hopping over and.
Well, and I just have always loved Canada since I was a kid. I mean, it's 3 hours from where I live. I can take the train up to Vancouver. I don't need my car. I can take a ferry to Vancouver Island. So I've always loved the Canadian people. I just like everything about Canada. I think I've got some French Canadian in me on my grandmother's side, so I really love Quebec. And I'm always glad that I live up in this little corner that I can just pop up there, because it's just a bonus for me. And it's so easy to write about Canada because there's so much, it's so great. I mean, I don't think I did a cross Canada train trip, which was really great. 10 days, I flew to Halifax, and then 10 days went north on Via Rail Canada all the way to Vancouver, and that's the way the country developed. So I have to say that's one of my, people always say, what's the best place you've ever been? What's your favorite trip? And I have to say that was a great trip. I loved on a different trip going up to see the polar bears up in Manitoba and Churchill. That was amazing because, they're not going to be there that much longer. I mean, those little ice flows are disappearing. So, my heart's up there a lot.
Yeah. Have you seen a beluga whale up there? Because that's something that's like on my bucket list. I want to see a beluga whale in the wild.
Yeah.
In the wild. I don't, not in an aquarium. I don't think I've seen the beluga. I've seen the, I guess my biggest shock, because we have whales come into my town where I live here in Langley on Whidbey Island in the spring, because they're the gray whales, and they're headed from Baja north up to Alaska, and they hang a right here and come down to my town because we've got all this sand shrimp, and so they come here to feed, and it's pretty wonderful. But no, I've never seen. I haven't seen one.
But your area sounds beautiful. And we got introduced to it when the IFTWA conference was happening in Whidbey Island, on Whidbey Island, I should say, in Langley. And we've learned so much. There's so much coverage coming out of that area, and it's like, wow, what a beautiful, beautiful place. So you went to that conference, right? Since it's in your backyard.
Yes, I didn't even need to spend the night. I mean, it was just, when it was up in Oak Harbor, I mean, it'd be kind of silly. It was up in Oak Harbor, 45 minutes from me. It started up there and then it moved on down. So I was just kind of a day tripper, which it was weird. It was like, wow, all these people are here. Okay. And I was pretty thrilled with the things they picked out for attendees to do. Because sometimes when you're living in a place and, you read an article about what someone has selected to do, you go, really? They did that? But I think that organization did a really good job and worked with the local tourism people. And of course, you want to show your place in the best light. But there were a lot of great stories generated out of that. So that was fun to read.
It seems like the whole island, the experience there is that everybody realizes they're on an island and we need to have integrity when it comes to our food and our wine. And we know resources are limited when you're on an island, right? So everybody's really just very, careful of the environment and careful about Yeah, it's like we're our own stock too, we're our own grandpas out here,
Yeah, definitely. And more because we've been discovered, thanks to travel writers like me and other.
Yeah.
I don't really write about Whidbey all that much because I'm a little sensitive to, in the summertime, sometimes the ferry line is 3 hours long to get here.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa, we've become, it's kind of be careful what you wish for. But on the other hand, all my friends own restaurants and shops on the island. So it's just trying to find that balance. It's like with everything.
Go year round. That's the thing. Nancy and I always when we went to Yosemite, we went when the snow was falling and it was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
It's like when you go to these places. Yeah, like here in Yuma, Arizona, where we are today, most people are like, don't come in the summer. Okay, yeah, it's the sunniest place on earth. But if you get up early in the morning, you can go in a kayak, you can go walking the wetlands and see beaver. It's about how to balance it out. And even communities themselves, the actual destinations, have to learn that balance, some of them.
I think so too. Yeah, off-season travel it's just the way to go. Like, I can't wait until all the kids are back in school, because that means all the families are done traveling. But now we have this wave on Whidbey of, I call them the Octoberites. It's people without children, probably more my age, in their 60s or whatever, retired, and they don't want to be here in the summer because of, so many people. So it's kind of extending into later in the season, which is okay, because October can be beautiful. This has been a beautiful October, and the leaves are changing and all that nice stuff. So I was actually just over in Wenatchee, which is in eastern Washington, and it's just 3 hours from here across Stevens Pass. And I was blown away. You've probably heard of the town of Leavenworth, which is a Bavarian village on the other side. Going across Stevens Pass and through Leavenworth, the colors, it was almost like, no, did someone come out and spray paint all this stuff to make it look good? I mean, it was so beautiful. And we hit our first snow, but it wasn't on the roadway. It had snowed the night before on the way home. And so the pass, all the mountains and the trees were covered in snow with those leaves. I kind of said, okay, this is it. This is where I want to be.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You got to do Yosemite in winter. Yeah, we were there actually in Halloween. We were there for Halloween season.
Oh, how
and then
fun!
Back in January, and there's Groveland, this little town right outside, and so one of
Oh,
the
I've been there.
You've been to Groveland?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we spent
Yes.
Halloween there, and so they have the oldest saloon in California.
I've been there too.
Oh, see, here it is.
Yeah, I love that saloon.
The Iron Door Saloon, and we partied in there, even though Nancy, she had the flu, I don't know, but and we stayed at this historic haunted inn, the Groveland Inn.
I think that's where we stayed too.
Yeah, Lloyd. Was it Lloyd the ghost, Nancy? Was it
Yes,
Lloyd?
he's a ghost. Lloyd is a ghost.
And Juanita,
he apparently likes to knock things off shelves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I was putting things on shelves because I'm like, come on.
Lipstick. It was the putting lipstick out. And so we're like, how much lipstick do you travel with? But it snowed in Yosemite, and we had these really rich fall colors on the snow, here's the snow.
Nice.
I was like, this is magic. And people don't want to go. They want to just do the big summer thing and beat the crap. I'm like, I don't want to be around people.
Well, yeah, and I'm spoiled living on Whidbey Island. It's like, why would I leave in the summer? I don't want to go to the airport. I mean, that's crazy. Because you're with amateur travelers. It's families, and I'm happy for them. They're all going on vacation, going to Disneyland, going here. But yeah, so we just kind of hunker on down here on the island in the summer. We have a big vegetable garden, and there's a reason so many people come here in the summer, because it's so nice. So it's like, why would I leave?
Yeah, right on. It sounds beautiful. So where is your next destination other than going to Santa Fe?
Let's see. Santa Fe is next month, and then November. That is I'm just shocked that we're already talking. Someone just said.
You just got back from Spain and Portugal. It's like, hello,
I know. So I'm kind of mixed up. Yeah, and then I just went to Wenatchee. So December we're doing something really fun, which we have a son and his wife and our 3.5-year-old granddaughter that live in Seattle, and it's kind of nice to have the younger generation want to plan stuff because, you know, being a travel writer, you're always planning the trips and all this stuff. And I enjoy it. That's part of the journey. But they suggested, because for years, my daughter-in-law and her mom and her brother would go to Mexico for Christmas to Los Cabos. It was just a tradition. The three of them would go down there and kind of get away from all the hubbub and everything. And so they said they haven't done it since they've been married for 6 years, and now they have, you know, our granddaughter and everything. So we're all going to Los Cabos. They've rented a beautiful house with a swimming pool. So it will be us and our kids, and then my daughter-in-law's mother, who we really like, and my daughter-in-law's uncle, who we really like. We've traveled together before, and we went, okay, this group works. We're doing this.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's going to be fun. Christmas in Mexico.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the traditions, the Christmas traditions in Mexico are amazing. You know, it's very similar. Like, it's interesting because of the king cake, and which is like New Orleans and Louisiana with Mardi Gras. It's kind of all similar traditions and people going to each other's houses. I mean, traditional style, but it is interesting when you find the right people to travel with. That's important. That's why
I know.
You got to,
and you know, it's not necessarily going to be your family, you know, because I talked to someone, they said, oh, you're going with and I said, yeah, we're going to have a blast. We've already done a test run, and we were up on Orcas Island at my daughter-in-law's big kind of family reunion, and we just kind of figured out who got along the best, and we're going, okay, we're doing this.
You know, in Orcas Island, it's funny, we have a you know, acquaintance in Central California, and he was telling us all about Orcas Island. And this was a few years back before, you know, IFTWA had their conference there in the area, in the islands. And, you know, we've done some coverage as well on Orcas. And we haven't personally been there, but I'm writers in the magazine. And it was interesting because he was telling us about it and showing us photos of whales and this whole area and how beautiful it was. He goes, but he says, I'm scared to tell, and he's like, I'm almost scared to tell you two because of the magazine and the radio, but he's like, he doesn't want people to know about it yet. He just wants to tell everybody because it's so beautiful. You know.
That's kind of how I know. We islanders get a little possessive about our island, and it's like after the big rush of high season and everything, we go, oh, thanks, we got our town back. And but it's not a bad thing. I mean, you got to be flattered that people want to come to where you live full time, you know, because what if you lived in a place that no one ever went? That would be kind of sad.
Yeah, you can't. And you wouldn't, you have to survive. You have to have sustainability. So, right. You know, financial, you know, the economy has to roll, and, you know, responsible tourism is the best way. But thank you so much, Sue. It's been a pleasure having you on the segment here. And everyone, SueKrause.com, also her blogs, her two blogs. You've got ClosetCanuck.com and EatPlaySleep.SueKrause.com. She's on social media as well. Did I miss anything on websites for you?
No, not at all. I have to say my my SueKrause.com website, I have an update. You know, I don't know if I just don't use it anymore. I'm kind of like, people can find me on Instagram or Facebook or my Eat, Play, Sleep blog or Closet Canuck. But yeah, my website is kind of sorely out of date. And I think that's happening with a lot of people.
Yeah, everything's changed up. Also,
it sure has.
Don't forget, keep up with her articles up on blendradioandtv.com. You can go there now, and also read her article as it comes out in the upcoming issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, listeners. And also, don't forget, keep up with IFTWA. Go to ifwtwa.org. And you can keep up with Big Blend Radio. Just go to bigblendradio.com. Our shows air Sunday through Friday. So we love to play music for our guests. And Sue, your song is a brand new album from James Byfield. He's also known as Blind Lemon Pledge. And he's a wonderful singer-songwriter. And he's basically really the keeper of Americana. He's like, you know, carrying that torch. He's done a lot of Appalachian style music, you know, Backwoods Glance, Evangeline, some of those albums. But
nice.
His latest album is called After Hours. He's based in San Francisco Bay Area, and is all jazz, an amazing singer, amazing piano player, and his guitar work. It is just brand new. So everyone check it out. It's called After Hours. I'm going to play the title track, and you can keep up with James at blindlemon-pledge.com. So here it is, After Hours. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
After hours, lamps are turned down low. After hours, soft jazz and a cigarette glow. Just me and you, dancing slow while the blue stars fade above. After hours, the time is right for love. After hours, bartender says last call. After hours, candlelight dancing on the wall. Just me and you, yes, that's all. We fit like a hand in a glove. After hours, the time is right for love. Just me and you and nobody else, dancing through smiles and tears. Just me and you, wrapped up in dreams while this old world disappears. Just me and you and nobody else, dancing through smiles and tears. Just me and you, wrapped up in dreams while this old world disappears. After hours, when the rest of the city sleeps. After hours, before the dawn light sweeps. Just me and you, playing for keeps while the moon smiles up above. After hours, the time is right for love. After